If you wind it all, this intersection of politics and money and healthcare is a voting group that is very powerful.
Welcome to Insights with Marcia. I have a very special guest today because he used to be my business partner and he knows everything there is to know about healthcare, everything, and insurance, and really a ton of politics because they all seem to be kind of spiderweb woven together. And then I remember we were working closely together right before Obamacare came out. So he wrote the book on healthcare reform, which is a really good book, and explained it all. I didn't understand it all, but I tried. I knew I could come to you and get tutored. And then for 2020, he came up with the Voter's Guide to Healthcare. Yeah, let's see if y'all can see that. I love. Tell me about the dinosaur real quick. Why is he like?
Oh, we'll get to the dinosaur.
Okay,
that'll be a big part
Okay.
of that. Because
Okay.
it's kind of the theme for the book. We'll get there.
Okay. I love it. But Dan is the former president of Holmes Murphy, ran that company of how many employees now? Like 1,000?
About 1,300 right now. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that kept you busy for a while, and now you're enjoying life a little bit more. And Dan was with ran a benefits consulting company. So tell for the people who have not seen another podcast, that we're going to do 2 podcasts together. So since he was my business partner, we're going to tell all of our fun stories about being in business together. But we also happen to be in the middle of a shutdown, and Dan understands everything about it, or a lot about it. So I wanted you to come on. But first, tell people what a benefits consulting. I didn't know when I met you.
Yeah. Well, to simplify it, I used to tell people I fight with HMOs for a living. So what a benefits consultant or benefits broker does is employers will hire a representative to represent their interests with the insurance companies. So whether it's financial negotiations, trying to get claims paid, design of programs, but who is the employer's advocate with that insurance company? That's a benefits broker. So that's what I did.
Okay. So you have relationships with tons of companies and tons of insurance companies.
We actually started a subsidiary company, really once we kind of figured out that the whole system needed a little help and we could kind of see all of the parts. So within our brokerage company, we created a subsidiary company that actually consulted with insurance companies, with physicians, with hospitals, even with pharmaceutical companies. So we actually kind of had a hand in trying to help everybody on both sides of that healthcare financing equation try to do a little better.
Yeah. Okay.
Lots of room for improvement.
Still lots of room. Yeah. So we're going to talk about what's going on with the shutdown, what's going on with elections and healthcare. We can't get away from Trump's RX plan, stuff like that. But I personally want to start with, I was listening to the news last night, and for instance, Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about voting with the Democrats as far as the shutdown because of health care.
I'm saying, look, Democrats, you created this mess. Republicans, you have no solutions. You haven't come up with a new plan in place, and we're not even talking about it. And it is hurting so many people, Manu, seriously, so many people across the board, no matter how they vote. I'm literally calling it out and saying, let's take off our Democrat jerseys, let's take off our Republican jerseys, and we should do something responsible for the American people and fix this.
So explain to us what's really happening.
Okay. So let's rewind the clock a little bit and we'll get to what's happening, because this is a healthcare shutdown.
Yeah.
That is the only issue that is being discussed and debated are subsidies for individuals who are in the marketplace or in Obamacare plans. That's really what this is all about. You go, well, wait a minute, that's not the majority of Americans. I mean, it's about 20 million people, so it's not insignificant, but that means there's a couple of 100 million people that have nothing to do with this. So why are we shutting down the government for something that's impacting a small group, and kind of how did we get here? So let's kind of roll back in elections, and if you roll back a little bit to when Joe Biden got elected president, if you think about that and try to roll back your minds, okay, who's
Long
that
time
and what's
ago.
that? Okay, you had Trump going in. Trump was running to get reelected, and there was a person who was winning in the Democratic primaries going into Super Tuesday, looked like they were likely going to sew up the Democratic nomination. But a couple of candidates that were kind of sitting in second and third place pulled out and threw their support on the weekend before Super Tuesday, which
Wow.
happens on a Tuesday. The weekend before was campaigning for a different candidate, trying to change who was going to get the Democratic nomination. So, rewind the clock. The person who was about to sew up the Democratic nomination was Bernie Sanders.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Last time we saw him was in the nomination. He had the big gloves on. We haven't seen him in years. Bernie Sanders had one issue he was campaigning on: Medicare for all.
Two things. They will be better because Medicare for all is comprehensive. It covers all health care needs for senior citizens. It will finally include dental care, hearing aids, and eyeglasses.
But you don't know.
Second of all,
You don't know that,
Second
Bernie.
of all,
We'll come to you in a second,
I do know, and I
Congressman.
wrote the damn bill. And second of all, many of our union brothers and sisters, nobody more pro-union than me up here, are now paying high deductibles and co-payments. And when we do Medicare for all, instead of having the company putting money into health care, they can get decent wage increases, which they're not getting today.
That was Bernie Sanders. It was his signature legislation. It's all he was campaigning on. And so healthcare was the number one issue for voters
Yeah.
going into that election and going into Super Tuesday. But the Democratic establishment didn't love that somebody who's actually not a Democrat, because Bernie Sanders is an independent, was about to win the Democratic nomination, didn't think he would defeat Donald Trump, felt like Joe Biden could. Joe Biden was not in second. Joe Biden was not in third. He was back.
Wow.
And that Amy Klobuchar, Mayor Pete, pulled out, threw their full support behind Joe Biden, and literally in the 3 to 4 days leading up to Super Tuesday, totally flipped who was going to win that nomination. So it's kind of almost strange to think back, because since then COVID happened.
Yeah.
So we
don't remember anything
right.
before that.
But Medicare for all was the election issue. And for President Obama, healthcare reform was his number one election. And so voters, when you look at polling, what is the one issue that consistently the American people say they trust the Democrats more than the Republicans? The one issue more than any other that they cite on that is healthcare. The American people believe that the Democratic Party can better handle the healthcare issue than Republicans, because Republicans haven't really had much for healthcare policy. They had, if you remember, repeal and replace.
Yes.
Which was their attempt to get rid of Obamacare, which John McCain had the famous Senate vote where he went up in front and puts his thumb down, and it was a big moment in his career. As a healthcare nerd, I remember all those things. The Republicans really were in a repeal and erase because they couldn't replace it. They didn't have anything to replace it with. Haven't really had that. And voters kind of feel that from the Republican side that, I don't know on healthcare. I kind of hear the Democrats, whether it's Medicare for all or Obamacare or other, they seem to have more ideas.
If you love Insights with Marcia and you want even more, I have something for you. Go to my Patreon page, and there you'll be able to watch ad-free episodes that come out early, bonus content every week, my personal show notes, and you may even have a chance to get your questions answered on the podcast. So for $5, $10, or $20 a month, we will keep this conversation going. So go to patreon.com/insights with Marcia, patreon.com/insights with Marcia. And let's have some fun. Let's keep the conversation going. I hope to see you there.
When elections elevate, or when the issue of healthcare elevates to the top in elections, the blue team wins those elections.
Huh.
When
Of course they're going to elevate
when
that.
healthcare falls, which in the last presidential election, healthcare fell off the table. Wasn't a priority for the Trump campaign. Didn't even have a real platform on that. And the Biden campaign, before it became the Harris campaign, they were kind of like, hey, let's just keep doing what we're doing. Protect Obamacare was kind of protect and build Obamacare. The Harris campaign didn't have time to try to pivot because she was actually, if you go back in history for Kamala Harris, she was actually a co-sponsor of Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All legislation.
Whoa.
She not only voted for it, she was a co-sponsor of that legislation.
Wow.
Correct.
Didn't know that.
So where she was individually was not where she was as vice president. So healthcare kind of got pushed off, and we went to, threat to democracy with the January 6th stuff, immigration on the Republican end, secure the border. That's kind of what this last presidential election came. Those were really the issues that they kind of were talking about. It wasn't healthcare. So here we go into midterms next year. Where was healthcare on voters' minds? Way in the background. It's not on anybody's radar screen.
Yeah.
So what this shutdown gives the blue team, not the red team, the opportunity to do is to elevate healthcare and healthcare inflation and cost and coverage. Use this as a time in every speech they give to talk about the cost of healthcare, drive home the message in advance of the midterm elections next year,
right,
to try to elevate that. So if you look at it and say, why are we having this shutdown? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Kind of what are we fighting about? Well, the only thing that we're really fighting about is how much publicity can we get regarding healthcare subsidies. And this was a time trap that was set by the Biden administration, that now this little time trap, time bomb's going on. Now I can go into that if we want to.
So does that mean the rules are changing? Because I'll give you a quick example. Anna, who worked for me, when the kids were teenagers, and sidebar, I saw her go through years of becoming a citizen, how hard she worked for it and how much money she had to come up with that she did not have. And then when Obamacare came out, she's still making housekeeper and babysitter salaries, and Obamacare did not work for her.
Okay.
It didn't pay out. She couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
So when Marjorie Taylor Greene says, I'm doing this because there's the little old lady in this house that's not getting health care, I kind of go, I never believed she got it to begin with, because I've seen it.
Yeah.
So is it really as bad as they're saying?
So, yes and no. So let kind of take you back. When book one, the book on healthcare reform. So
Okay.
my son was in high school when I was writing that book, and he asked me one day, he goes, well, what are you going to call the book? I said, I'm going to call it the book on healthcare reform. And he goes, well, that's kind of lame. As your 15-year-old son would say. And I said, no. So I could say I wrote the book on healthcare reform. And he goes, oh, that's legit. So I knew for my son that
was good.
So the way that the subsidies for Obamacare were established is what you would pay for coverage was a percentage of your household income up to 400% of the federal poverty level, above which you didn't get any subsidy. So it was kind of set to help the working people part of the legislation was an expansion of Medicaid. But what we're talking about here is not the Medicaid piece. What we're talking about is people who buy individual coverage through the marketplace and get a subsidy from the federal government. So their net cost of insurance is what they pay. The government or other taxpayers are paying the majority of that premium.
Yes.
Okay, so that was established in the original legislation. In order for that legislation to be deemed affordable in terms of that, because anytime legislation is voted upon, the Congressional Budget Office will do what they call a scoring, and they will say this legislation either increases or decreases the federal deficit by X amount.
Mm-hmm.
And so they wanted to keep that within some parameters. So these subsidies were set. It's there. So what you pay is a percentage of your household income, and it's a sliding scale.
Okay.
And you can use that money to buy up or down coverage, but that's kind of how it works. So if prices go way up, the price doesn't go up for the individual who's covered because it's fixed.
Okay.
Taxpayers are paying the inflation.
Got it.
So this isn't an inflation issue. That's not the way this is set up. What happened was in COVID era legislation. So remember, ERA was one of those pieces of COBRA legislation. And then you had the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yes.
Which had nothing to do with inflation, but nonetheless was named that. And Trump followed with his one big, beautiful bill. So it's just become a naming contest on budget items. But inside of that COVID era legislation, they dramatically, temporarily increased the subsidies. So, which was fitting with, again, blue team, red team. Blue team wanted to increase the subsidy so that the participant paid less. And with this COVID era kind of air cover, hey, here's a chance to juice up Obamacare, which was the Biden administration healthcare platform, was protect and expand Obamacare. How did they do it? By temporary legislation around COVID relief. That's what happened here. So coverage went from kind of expensive to free or next to free for many, many, many people.
Got it.
So all of a sudden what other taxpayers were paying went up. What the person in the program who's receiving the benefit, they paid far less. But that sunsets at the end of this year.
Oh, wow.
But
So
here's
they did set a time bomb.
Here's why it sunsets is the Biden administration is in power. This was not bipartisan. There were no red team votes. This was all blue team. So no Republicans voted to support the legislation. So the Democrats initially set one set of rules in Obamacare. Then they dramatically expanded those subsidies, increased them on a temporary basis for coverage. Temporary, because if you made them permanent, then when the Congressional Budget Office scores the Inflation Reduction Act, or that they go, oh, wait, this is really expensive. You're dramatically increasing the deficit. No, we're not. We're only doing this for another 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
So it appears to voters as if, well, this isn't that expensive.
Yeah.
And then set it so that, okay, post next election, when this comes up, if the Democrats have power, we just keep it going and we'll do it temporary again. If we don't have power, the Republicans aren't going to want to increase the deficit in order to have subsidies that were richer than ever proposed in the original legislation.
Right.
Then we will blame the Republicans for increasing the cost of health care. It was a trap set, and the trap gets set the other way also.
Yeah.
But the way if you try to figure out in the federal government, how does entitlement spending continue to increase?
Yes.
This is how it happens.
Okay.
We have a temporary increase in this. We have a temporary program in that. Well,
wow.
Our government doesn't have a history of taking away temporary increases.
Yeah.
That resets the baseline.
Yeah.
And so now Republicans either have to increase the federal deficit by keeping these, redoing these enhanced subsidies, or the Democrats are able to blame the Republicans for increasing the cost of health care. And so that's why it's very subtle. But I was listening to the speeches on both sides the day before the shutdown started, and Speaker Johnson was talking, and he wasn't incorrect in saying, hey, all we're doing is continuing the Biden administration budget.
Okay,
We
so
aren't
we're continuing with the great prices.
And he is correct, because the Biden administration budget ended the subsidies on 12/31. So, and then the Democrats are saying, hey, the Republicans are increasing your cost of health care and Obamacare. So it's a finger pointing and semantics. But if you understand how they do these things, you could see that train coming from way back down. That's really wonky.
No, but I'm trying to understand it.
Yeah, but that's really what's happened. So this is really about, it's the Obamacare subsidies. That's the only issue that's being discussed. And it's, do the Republicans increase the deficit scoring by continuing these enhanced subsidies, or do they go back and say, hey, this is what the Biden administration already had. We're just going to continue what they said, which is these stop, and it goes back to the original. So let's take Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yes.
So why would she be switching jerseys and saying, give me a blue jersey for this vote, not a red jersey, maybe. Well, when you look at if the enhanced subsidies go away, well, it's a massive percentage increase. You're going to see people's cost, what they pay, it more than doubles, because we took extra money away that people were receiving. So their cost will go back to what it was pre-COVID. That's what it returns to, because it's a percentage of income. It just returns everything to where, if that happens. But very easy for somebody to say, hey, I was paying $15 a month for coverage before, and now it's $150. It's a 10. You could see scenarios like that, the way subsidies play out, that could happen. And so she's probably looked at her voting constituents and said, oh, if these subsidies increase, that's a news story. In November or December of this, in January, that's a news story where the local news can run a story. Here's this family that was paying this much, and because Republican budget, now they're paying this much. Trump did that. I mean, that's the way it would be positioned. It would never get positioned as this is a continuation of the Biden policy, which it is.
Yeah.
It would be a blame this. And so she's probably looked at it and said, oh, I need to be able to tell people that, hey, I didn't want to do that. Now, here's what I think happens.
Yes.
And I could be wrong on this. I've been wrong before. I thought Hillary Clinton was going to be our president. So predicting the political outcomes is impossible, I think, in some ways. But will the Republicans give in to the Democrats and give ground to get the shutdown ended? No, because they don't want to give them more power. Will the subsidies somehow get lessened so it won't be as much of an increase in January 1st? I think they will. I think the Republicans will find money somewhere in a creative accounting mechanism, and they may not keep them exactly where they are now, but I think that before the end of the year, there will be some middle ground. It's just the political positioning of who's going to get blamed and who's going to get the credit.
Okay.
But that's what this is all about.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
It's nice to see behind the scenes. I love it. Well, you've got a bunch of other stuff you wanted to share with us today.
Yeah, it was really in my voter's guide, which I'll go back to the dinosaur about that, is, I think a lot of times we would say we would like to
Make sure everybody sees
to
them.
separate out healthcare and politics and say, "Well, but, our healthcare system is really a combination of public and private."
Yes.
And so I think what's happened with some of our legislation is we've actually taken the worst of public and the worst of private and mashed them together without any logical thought, and ended up with what we have. And so for voters, when they really start thinking about it, there's a lot of unease
Mhm.
related to the healthcare system. We know it's expensive.
Yes.
We don't understand it. It's been rated the most complicated consumer experience in the world is
I
health insurance in
agree.
the United
Yeah.
States because you don't know what's covered. You don't know how they're going to get paid. And it's led to some really bad behavior and some
Mhm.
bad outcomes. Um, and it needs to get better. So there's a study that was done by the Commonwealth Fund. They started probably 15 years ago, and they had a couple of versions of it. And they compare healthcare systems around the world.
Mhm.
And they're the ones that tell us that ours is the most expensive. So compared to other economically developed countries, we spend more as a percentage of GDP and more in real dollars per person in the United States than other countries. Okay, why? And you start peeling that apart. In the pharmacy space, um, which, man, a lot of debate around that, but we pay more for the same drugs in the United States than people in other countries. Because in the United States, the federal government has not been authorized to negotiate prescription drug prices on our behalf.
Oh.
Correct. Where other countries, their
Wow.
governments say, "We don't agree with that price." And so you go, "Wow, that's political and that's" but we're at a disadvantage in our country from a pricing. So in essence, you take almost any prescription drug, it's more expensive in the United States than anywhere else on the planet. That's just
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the way it's worked out. So there's reasons on that. But the real issue that's there was this study that had just a massive impact on me as a healthcare consultant. And it was a study on mortality amenable to healthcare. It's like, what is
What?
that?
Yeah, I haven't heard
So
that one before.
terrible name
Yes.
for a study. But what this study did from the Commonwealth Fund, they said, at what rate do people in your country die from something that could have been found and treated by the
Mm,
healthcare system?
that's good.
Yeah, or not good.
Oh,
That
not
that that
good.
so if we simply said, "What's the preventable death rate in your country from healthcare?" So, you know, could have been diabetes that could have been managed, could have been cancer that could have been found, it could have been an infant that died that maybe should have lived. I mean,
Yeah.
at which place was there something the healthcare system could have done, but that person didn't get the care they needed
Yeah.
and they died?
Okay.
Not
Okay.
they got a little sick.
They died.
They exited this realm. And
Oh.
so you go, okay, so that's a big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, that's a pretty easy scorecard for healthcare.
Yeah.
At what rate do people die
Yes.
that shouldn't have?
Yes.
Here's the really bad part. Compared to other economically developed countries, people in the United States, on average, die at about a 58% higher rate than other economically developed countries.
Whoa.
Of the economically developed countries that, so who are we looking at here? We're looking at Sweden, Norway, Great Britain,
Yeah.
we're looking at Germany. We're looking at other countries that are economically developed that we say, okay, that's a real country. That's
Yeah.
not some little third
Yeah.
world that doesn't have a healthcare system. But you go, well, why is it that people in the United States, I understand life expectancy, that ours isn't as high because is there more gun violence in the United States than other countries? Yes. Are there more, you know, are there
Motor vehicle accident.
yes,
Yeah.
there are things that you go, there's a lot of reasons people might or might not live that don't have anything to do with our healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
But this one isolates to, well, no, that person had this and died when they could have been found, this could have been treated. And so that's really what spurred me to start looking at what's going on politically, what's going on in the private and in the for-profit based system, and what really needs to change
Mm-hmm.
so that we get people access to the care that they need
Mm-hmm.
when they need it. And so that was the cover of the book. I'll let you hold it up.
Yes. Okay.
So the cover of the book is a T-Rex, and it's actually a cartoon-based book. So every chapter has, and I'm not recommending anybody go read it today. I'm just kind of talking about what's there. But every chapter kind of has a cartoon, and I use cartoons because I figured, the reality of our healthcare system.
That's the kind of book I like to read.
People can't handle it without cartoons.
Yeah.
And so
Too depressing.
yes, it's too depressing, in kind of what we have created, because I don't think that it's, we don't have the best doctors. I think we have the best
I do
doctors.
too. Yeah.
We don't have the best hospitals. Well, I think we have the best hospitals. So you go, wait a
What
minute.
is it? Yeah.
So it's so expensive. So what I boil it down to is what I call the T-Rex effect.
Okay.
So if you think about the defining physical characteristic of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, it's their little T-Rex arms, right? I mean, so you got this massive animal that's got these little bitty arms. It can't reach anything. And so I call it the T-Rex effect, because I think that is healthcare in this country. So let's take this T-Rex, and let's say on the wall, there's a dinosaur survival button. Right?
That's his button. Okay.
That's the button.
Yeah.
All the T-Rex has to do to survive is go push the button, and they get what they need to survive. But T-Rexes are extinct. They're not around. Why are they not around when the button was on the wall?
They couldn't reach it.
Because they couldn't reach it.
Oh,
That what they needed was there all the time,
no. But they didn't have
but it was
access.
just out of reach.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I think our situation with healthcare and our healthcare system is in the United States right now, is it's right there.
Mm-hmm.
We have, in my opinion, the best doctors in the world. When leaders of other countries around the world get sick, royal families, where do they go?
Mm-hmm.
They come here
Mm-hmm.
to the place where people die at the fastest rate on the planet.
I
Wait, whoa. You go, wait a minute. No, we've got the best technology, the best care, the best thing. Now, we've got a system that's slow to change, as you know, from the weight loss world. And that's the same with other places, in my opinion. But if we wanted to take a political approach to this and try to go, how do we connect the private side, the political side, the for-profit with the not-for-profit, kind of take all these pieces to get together, the system needs to be designed that every decision we make builds either a ramp or a hurdle.
Okay.
When somebody needs care, did we make it harder? We have a higher deductible. We have these approvals. What do? We built a ramp. So you got to get around the ramp before you can get to the care. Those are bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Or excuse me, those are hurdles. Sorry.
Right,
We put a hurdle. I'm a person who now knows I need care. What do I have to do to get the care I need? Oh, well, I've got to figure out which type of ologist I need to see that I didn't know to treat this, because I don't know what it is. Oh, and I didn't have a primary care physician, and I can't afford the medications, and I can't get an appointment for 8 months. And you go, these are all hurdles.
Yes.
That we've put in place that are very difficult for most people to get around to get to the care that they need. So what happens is people pass while they're waiting.
Ooh.
Or they make decisions that say, I couldn't afford that and they couldn't get this. What we need to do is rethink the entire system, everything about the system.
Yes.
That says when a person is identified who needs care, they've been diagnosed with something and they need an ectomy. We don't know what we need to ectomize, but we need to, we need to take something out.
Yeah.
How do we make sure that that person, that soul, can get access as quickly as possible to the care that they need? And if we removed everything else about it, and we took the political side of things, and we took the profit side of things, and we connected all the dots and said, no, 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 no. Let's rework the system so that it actually proactively connects patients and providers rather than gets in between. That would be the dream.
Yeah.
So if somebody is running for president or senate or anything else, that's ultimately the campaign promise of how do we rework a system
That's the promise.
that removes hurdles. So that's really what the book is about, is the ideas around the T-Rex effect.
Yeah.
Of how do we make it where people can reach the care they need when they need it. For your family, for my family, for this,
Yes.
my daughter is she's expecting our first grandchild. So
Oh,
my wife's
yay.
over the moon
Yes.
right now. But and unfortunately, at the end of last year, she had, with her first pregnancy, she had a miscarriage, which was sad, just
Yes.
just tough,
Yeah.
and just a sad situation. But she was dealing with insurance challenges
Oh.
and that too. So
Oh.
so I've seen firsthand, and then, and as a person who was, knee deep in the insurance industry for 30 plus years, I was like, "Oh, honey, what decisions did you make?" And she's telling me, I'm like, "Why didn't you ask?"
Oh.
So we reworked her insurance strategy.
Oh, good.
And so she's about 4 weeks from due. So she's eight months in right now, and has nothing to do with the fact that she's better positioned in insurance this year than she was a year ago, but she is better positioned.
Good.
But she learned firsthand of, oh no,
Yeah.
that because she made some bad decisions around what she chose, why she chose it, and
who knows? I mean, you don't.
It just and until you've experienced that, and then, gotten plans where she couldn't, there were no OBGYNs available in her
Oh
network.
my God.
And you're just like, how do these
How
things
does that happen?
But
It does.
they can happen. And those are the things that if the industry could rethink itself,
Yes.
and if we could get prices right,
Yes.
because we've got, if there's one thing I could do, if you said I had one play to make to try to help make a dent in all of this, and this will not be popular with all of your viewers on this, but I think we should have a balanced billing limit for medical charges.
Yeah.
So if a person is covered by Medicare, even if they go to a doctor who doesn't accept Medicare, as full reimbursement, there's a percentage, about 25% or so, above what Medicare covers that is all the patient is responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
So the physician doesn't have to accept Medicare. They can charge another about 20%.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, Medicare on average, kind of the strategy is basically to kind of reimburse at the cost of doing business. That's kind of the
Yes.
underlying strategy of Medicare. So most hospitals, most physicians aren't making massive profit on Medicare business.
No.
But if they're running an efficient business, they're kind of covering their cost. So this would be saying, if in Medicare, they're saying, hey, if somebody doesn't accept that as full reimbursement, then they can make about 20% profit on top of that. But that's it to protect the Medicare patients. Everybody else doesn't have that protection.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we look and I'll speak to the North Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area a little bit and say, okay, well, let's talk about hospital prices and how's all this working? Why do we have to make this a political issue?
Yeah.
So, on average in this community, after negotiated discounts, so if you're going in network, we'll start with Medicare. So let's assume Medicare is about break even, about your cost of doing business as a hospital. That's about what you're going to get for a Medicare patient. So you need to get other patients that aren't Medicare to make money, pay the bills, and keep growing. Okay, got that payer mix strategy. I need more than just Medicare or Medicaid patients. I need some private insurance patients. So you look at the Obamacare plans, individual marketplace, which the government ultimately approves or doesn't approve the ultimate insurance rate. So the insurance companies are taking the risk. So in this market, they're going to pay that hospital probably 40 to 50% above what Medicare pays.
Okay.
For those plans. Then you take everybody else who has insurance through their company, with a good network, a Blue Cross Blue Shield, United, Cigna, the bigger networks that are there. You go, okay, so, and if I have that, how much are they receiving? Well, those negotiations after discount are more in that 250 to 300% of Medicare.
Oh, okay.
So people wonder, well, why is my insurance so expensive at work?
Right.
And you go, well, for services, we're paying 3 times the cost of what Medicare pays. So there's a hidden Medicare tax.
Yes.
Inside of this entire system. And Dallas-Fort Worth is an expensive marketplace. Some places the gap is less. It varies by region. But healthcare, in my opinion, is a social service. It is for the public need. We need this here. And so is it a social program? Is it a private program? I don't know. That's for the red and the blue team to argue. And the bottom line is the red and the blue ultimately have to come together in something that makes it affordable. So if the health insurance is not affordable, and what's become not affordable is less that per paycheck and more of the deductibles and out-of-pocket limits.
Yeah.
Those have skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And so if you've got a person that is, let's say they're making $60,000 a year. They're making $60,000 a year, and they've got a $5,000 deductible and then a $10,000 out-of-pocket limit. Do you think that they've got that $10,000 to $15,000 saved up for a healthcare fund? No, they don't. They're likely either just starting to build their savings because they're young and getting going in their career, or they've got other expenses and are paying off other debts and are living paycheck to paycheck. That's the reality that's there. And another study that has been done has looked at the concept of underinsurance.
Mm-hmm.
And so pre-Obamacare, the real discussion was the uninsured, people who have no insurance. Mm-hmm. That number of Americans has gone down significantly with the Obamacare. But we have replaced it and multiplied it now with the underinsured. And what underinsured, and this is also Commonwealth Fund, the underinsured is people who have insurance but couldn't afford it if they actually had something go wrong.
Wow.
So yes, I have health insurance.
Yeah.
But if I needed a major surgery,
not paying for it.
I don't have the deductible and out of pocket. Those are not sitting in the bank, just waiting.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of what our system has done.
Yeah.
Is employers have been so conscious of trying to lower costs because the price of services, I'm paying 3 times Medicare for services.
Yeah.
I can't afford that as an employer.
Yeah.
So I keep raising per paycheck. Well, then that got too high. Then I'm now going over here and saying, well, here's my deductible and my out of pocket. We've pushed it down. And that is that voting group that's very sensitive to the shutdown. So if you
Winds it
kind of
all up.
if you wind it all, this intersection of politics and money and healthcare,
Mhm.
ultimately this unaffordability, the anxiety if something goes wrong, I can't pay for it even though I have insurance,
Yeah, it's awful.
is a voting group
Yeah,
that is very powerful when activated. The
yeah.
shutdown is all about activating that group that just has some unease with the healthcare system that has the T-Rex effect. It's sitting just out of reach.
You just summed it all up. That just makes so much sense. I love it. Because even though I've been around you forever, I still kind of go, what did he say? So I'm gonna make sure I have a transcript of this episode
Yeah,
until I fully get it.
it's ramps and hurdles.
Yeah.
As an industry, as an employer,
Yeah.
every decision either builds a hurdle,
Yeah.
and I'm going to make it harder economically or administratively for you to get the care when you need it, or it builds a ramp
Yeah.
and says, "Oh, you need the care? We're gonna
Oh, I
we're
love it.
gonna do that." But it's hard to pay for all that
Yeah.
with the hidden taxes that are sitting inside of a disconnected system.
I think the federal government needs to find you and get some advice from you. Pass this podcast along, everybody, to somebody you know who needs it in Washington, because I would.
You want me to tell you where I think it all goes?
Where?
So ultimately, we got to bring it all together.
Yeah.
We our system, it's too expensive and too many people are dying.
Mhm. It's a sad truth.
This is real.
Yeah.
The most common element in personal bankruptcy,
Healthcare expenses.
medical debt.
Yeah.
So it's a political issue because it's a real issue for far too many people. And if you're healthy, you don't get it because you don't have those same challenges. But if you are not healthy, then you start realizing the financial and the just administrative burden of life of trying to deal with these things, which is why it is so politically powerful.
Yes.
And politicians understand that hey, here's something where I can really get people going. But eventually, the Republicans and the Democrats actually kind of agree on most of this.
You never know it.
And they would one, they don't know it, and two, they wouldn't admit it.
Right.
President Obama, his last month in office, created a system where small employers could give their employees pre-tax money and they could buy any individual coverage they wanted.
Yes.
President Obama created that. President Trump created accounts called ICRA, individual coverage reimbursement accounts, health reimbursement accounts. What that did was the same thing that Obama created, but it expanded it to any employer.
Mm.
So whether the Obama administration would have ever agreed that they agreed with the Trump administration or the Trump administration agreed, but both of them in signature moves did the exact same thing, just expanded. What they've tried to do in pharmacy in terms of the federal government starting to negotiate prices for Medicare and that. Trump tried to do that when he was president. Biden got it done. And now Trump has created Trump RX, which is negotiating directly with Pfizer as the first. They're trying to do the same things.
I love it.
But won't admit it. But ultimately, I think employers are going to look at this rising cost, and do employers really want to try to tell people that they need to lose weight or go see a doctor? Or this? I think employers are kind of going, no, I'm trying to run a business. I don't need to be in people's health anymore. They don't like it. I don't like it. And it's too expensive. And so these account-based approaches ultimately are going to win the game.
Oh, that's good.
It's kind of a 401k for healthcare. Most people don't have pension plans.
No.
Your younger audience doesn't know what a pension plan is.
No.
A pension plan was a commitment that for the rest of your life, that company is going to give you a check.
Mm-hmm.
Those don't exist.
It was like Social Security.
Correct.
But
Now you have 401k where I've got an account and I put savings and my employer puts some in, I put some in. We replaced it to individual. That's coming in healthcare.
Okay. That's
And
the future.
that I believe is the future. And then I think you'll see what now are all the Medicare Advantage options. Medicare Advantage is private insurance when you're Medicare eligible.
Mm.
Over half the people eligible for Medicare in this country take those plans
Mm.
because they can get a little richer benefits and those kinds of things. It's private insurance using Medicare money.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So you have those plans, then you have Obamacare plans, then you have everybody else. We're all paying different things for healthcare. The raw material of healthcare, we all have different prices.
Wow.
Someday, somebody's going to run for office.
Maybe Dan Bishop.
No, that will not be the case. But somebody will run for office and say, wait a minute. What if we just made these private insurance for Medicare available to everyone? It was really what Mayor Pete had. His was called Medicare for All Who Want It. So you have anything you want, but anybody could sign up for these Medicare Advantage plans. All of a sudden, then Obamacare kind of goes away. These ICHRA accounts and you just kind of go, oh, those are the insurance plans. The federal government ultimately approves or doesn't approve the rates. And then employers give you money to help offset the premium, but you buy the plan you want from every plan available in the marketplace. All of a sudden, the world starts kind of looking a little better. Then you empower the federal government to what President Biden talked about. He was talking about his cancer moonshot. If you kind of remember that, hey, we want to attack cancer. We want to do that. You look what Secretary Kennedy talks about in terms of make America healthy again. They're starting to talk about loftier things.
Yeah.
Like, well, what if Americans actually lived longer? What if we actually treated diabetes a little better? What if we found cancer a little earlier? If we started making those the discussions and then said everybody has to line up between trying to get to these things that will make us truly live longer, healthier lives, now we're on to something.
Yeah.
But we gotta clean up all these hidden fees, taxes, the price disparity. A lot of that really needs to get cleaned out of the system because nobody understands it.
Right.
And when you don't understand it, you can't fix it.
Good point. Good point. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
I understand a whole lot more. I'm serious. Washington needs to find you, please. You could fix the problem. Now, Washington politics might be. Okay, well, I want you back for our bonus session. And one of the things I want you to tell people is how it's really the insurance companies, it's not in it for them for you to be healthier. They don't make as much money if you're healthy. So thank you, Dan Bishop, for being
Absolutely.
here.
Thank you, Marcia.
Y'all, the books are fascinating. This was a great discussion. So join us next time. We'd love to have you back for more Insights with Marcia.